Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNewsNeat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings, hanging in there, holding it down in the middle of multiple heat waves. Spread love, it's the Brooklyn way.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Indeed, indeed. Hope folks are weathering the heat and staying cool at the very least, and hydrated and all that kind of good jazz. Because I know there are places that don't have electricity, and people got to go elsewhere and are suffering. Crazy.
Yeah, shout out to the Houston area.
Exactly. They're still kind of going through it. I know there are other places that are out to that point. So, but for right now, though, you could also, a weird transition, but you could find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's espn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Shout out to Jamaica, because there's no place like it. You'd like to know why
Jamaica
I said that.
Queens or Jamaica the country?
Jamaica the country. Sure, Jamaica Queens, but the country. Yes. You could also find us recording mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, on the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/thekliqnation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we are on live. We could always use positive reviews.
Indeed. And speaking of Caribbean folk, shout out to the man Vine Gloom, who's in the chat, saying nothing like New York summer is hotter than Satan's balls in a Speedo.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Jamaica has the island breeze to provide some relief. That's just true, but also got, you know what? Let me shut up. Yeah, all of that. So, also fellow New Yorker to Agent 70. So there you go. But yeah, I was going to say that speaking of our live recordings, I'll get to that in a second. We will be on Movie Protocol next week because of that Deadpool movie.
Yeah, I'll be out watching it, so
I might be streaming some video games. I'm definitely not playing Deadpool again because I hate it. Well, I didn't dislike that game, but I'm not playing it again. And X-Men Origins Wolverine, while as amusing as that game is, probably won't play that again either. You want to see where that was played? That was like me playing on my own personal channel, Twitch channel, a while ago. But anyway, we'll see what happens next week. We'll see what comes up. But Von Gloom says there's no relief in Jamaica Queens, which I'll leave that to y'all New Yorkers for that one. Goes to Brooklyn Queens. Shout out to third base, I guess. I don't know. Either way, we're going to get right on into the show with our spoiler-free / spoiler-light discussion on the season finale of I was about to say Star Trek, Star Wars: The Acolyte, episode 8, which is self-titled.
Right. Right. It is absolutely self-titled. So, believe it or not, I actually think this is a very good episode overall, except for my main quibble with this entire story. And I'm going to paraphrase a certain call to action and borrow it. And I say this kind of planted firmly, with my tongue planted firmly in cheek, but kind of not. And I say this, I don't mean to take anything away from the actual social movement, but let's stop Asian Jedi hate, and let me explain why. Why is it that we get one show with an actual Asian person Jedi lead, and they make him out to be a dumbkopf, like an actual like a dipstick, like the way Roscoe P. Coltrane used to call poor Enos, right? Like he just doesn't use the Force at the right times. Obviously, they tap into some martial arts background to have him do some great lightsaber stuff. But overall, they had Lee Jung Jae portray Master Soul as kind of like this kind of a rogue Jedi, kind of out of control, kind of not in control of his emotions, that whole thing, and we've seen defective or faulty Jedi before, who had the same kind of character defects along those lines. But I just, I'm just mildly offended that they had to pick on, the first time we get an Asian brother leading as a Jedi to make him be the defective one. But but overall, I actually like the execution of the episode, and I know Roddykat's going to get into the nitty gritty, so I'm going to let him take over from here.
Not really. I mean, like it's only been a couple of days. I won't really get into too gritty, but I will say though, I don't. Yes, everything you've said just a second ago. Well, almost everything you said just a minute ago, I kind of agree. But I don't think they made him out to be a, I think he was a Dunkoff, as you said, or what other words you said around that time. Yes, I don't think he's not. He's definitely not a dipstick. Emotional, definitely. And they definitely played up that part of a, let's say, weakened Jedi,
right?
A less than faithful Jedi, some would say. I don't know, but the Jedi Order is in disarray because we won't even get into that. I feel like this is kind of going on to a discussion that I had at a comic book shop about the Jedi when I went to get my books. So, but yeah, the flaws of the Jedi are out there. They've been out there. This is not the first time for that. Won't be the last time for certain. Sad the fact that in the way that it was used in this particular at this particular time, because like wow, they really kind of gave it to. I was about to flip and say something, but they really kind of
they threw him under the bus at the end of the day.
I didn't want to say that, but yes,
yeah, they absolutely threw him under the bus to save their own skins, right, and to cover up what actually happened,
right. So. But the one thing I do love about the show is that, yeah, as a matter of fact, there was even a particular statement or two said by shout out to David Harwood, who guest starred on the show. That's kind of a spoiler, I guess not. As a senator who kind of had some words about the Jedi, which he wasn't wrong.
Right. Kind of prescient, kind of very much keyed towards the near and far future of the of a galaxy far, far away.
And thank you to Von Gloom for reminding me of what I thought all this show. But yeah, and Von Gloom said I wasn't going to say the whole thing, but it's like he had some weird trauma that he was projecting on Osha. Guess the Jedi make the same mistake that Alfred did. They don't provide the kids with therapy. No, it's basically like, hey, this is the way you have to be. This is the way you have to be. There's no other way you have to be. This is the way you have to be. But what about this? This is the way you have to be. There is nothing else. We do not deal with other else. You have to be this or nothing. And that is the beginning of the flaws of the Jedi. Don't get me wrong, love the Jedi, but they can suck.
Yeah,
they can absolutely suck sometimes.
Right, and what's funny is that we're used to there being a mix of character, like especially in this era of Star Wars, where there are multiple Jedi running around. We're used to seeing, like all sorts of, variety of Jedi, and the quality of the Jedi varies, right? There are whiny ones, there are annoying ones, and everything in between, right? And the noble ones and the quiet ones, right? So we get to see all of that in this type of series because it's set in this particular timeline, and I like that, because as people who grew up watching episodes 3, 4, and 5, the only Jedi we knew were Luke and Obi-Wan, right? So we had this particular station in life on a pedestal, and we learned more about it in the extended universe. We learned more about it in the comics. We learned more about it in the prequels, and we get to see, that they're not all they're cracked up to be, or they're not all as noble and righteous as we were led to believe.
Right. I was about to say, you forgot one particular Jedi that we did get in the well, that was pretty much all have been through most of them, with the exception of the sequels, who may or may not have shown up at the end of the show.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
that's right. That's right. I apologize. I apologize.
No. Because I thought you did that intentionally because of the potential spoiler of it. But
no. Because at the end of the day, we only see this particular character in Empire,
right?
So,
and so, which also I will go so far as to say that, hey, it's pretty apparent we're going to get the season 2 out of this.
Yeah, because there are a lot of loose threads hanging.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you were wondering if that was the case after you watched this particular episode, there is no question. Unless for some stupid reason they do it someplace else, which I would like that'd be kind of crazy to let that just fall to the books or something. Don't get me wrong, I read some of the books. Like, don't do that. Crazy. You're gonna start this here, you should end it here. Bunglum says so the Jedi are no different than organized religion, basically. The green Jedi bald ladies. Oh, Venestra's sister was certainly annoying. Yeah.
Yes, and that's who came to mind when I said annoying.
Yeah, totally. So was the Jedi with the Killmonger. Yeah, so people actually like Yord. Even though he absolutely was, that. I was like, okay, he's that dude. He's the kind of not necessarily the teacher's pet, but the overachiever kind of.
Right.
And he was very much kind of annoying. So
that's very funny. Very funny. So what did you think overall? I thought it was, uneven, but I liked that. I liked how they ended it, and obviously, in my opinion, Manny, and I just heard this, Manny Jacinto, not Jacinto, but Jacinto. Even though he's been pronouncing it Jacinto, throughout The Good Place and all that, but apparently he's changed it up because colonizers. So Manny Jacinto. Is probably like the breakout star from this series.
And don't forget the little Basil.
Oh, you mean thank you for reminding me. The little rat does little rat things to Soul and doesn't suffer any consequences. What the hell was that? It's not explained. It just sort of happens, and we're like, wait, why? And then it's all sort of, let bygones be bygones or whatever.
Right. He just kind of comes in as an agent of chaos and then just leaves. It was like,
what was that? What was that? That's just another, aspect of this show that was just confusing. Like I said, it was never really explained why Soul does what he does, with this witch cult. It's not explained why. What was the little dude's name?
Basil. Yeah. Or
Basil.
Yeah.
Not the herb, but yeah. Why he does what he does. Like, what's going on? And we kind of don't know what Khmer's ultimate goal is other than to seduce. Right? Maybe that's the ultimate goal. We don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like for the most part, for what we have right now, we do. But you're right. There's probably a little bit more to it than what we have been privy to, and we'll probably find that out next season if there is something. Also, this is kind of a spoiler, but I'm not going to give any names. But there was, and I must have blinked and missed this part, but apparently there were theories. Well, there were definitely theories about a certain Sith.
He does appear.
Yes, he does.
12 minutes in, I had to go back and look for it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go back and look for it because I saw it as like because I assumed I thought they were gonna go another way with it, but I only know the person by name and by what the one phrase they say about him.
Right.
But
Have you ever heard the story?
exactly.
That's all I have to say. If you know, you know.
So they did set that up. So those theories were correct. However, I thought it was going to be something near the end, which wasn't what we got at the end. However, was actually a surprise. Even though, like I said, I know I have seen a couple of articles saying like, yeah, this is this is gonna, matter of fact, there was a couple of them that I forgot to put into the thing, but maybe next week we'll do that. It'll be by then. But to answer your question though, real quickly, overall, I liked it. Like, I still think this is a show that's probably going to be best viewed as a binge, and it might even be a little bit more consistent in that way. But watching them the way we've been watching them, I didn't have a problem with it. Like I said, I feel like it's more good than the bad that I've heard people that I've talked to as opinions of it. I mean, there are some
I'm
points
kind
that
of
I've
right
seen
down the
made.
middle.
Yeah,
I'm kind of right down the middle because there's a lot to it that I just that I bumped against far too often. But then we got really cool lightsaber fights, and like the lizard brain is kind of like, oh, that's cool. But then the rest of it's kind of like, why are they doing this? Why are the characters doing this? Why are they why are they acting like this? Why are they saying this? It's just weird.
yeah, what you could say about almost any story of this kind, because there's always going to be some sort of like, wait, this character was doing fairly decently up until it gets to the point to where they make this one stupid choice that seems slightly out of character, or way out of character in this particular case. Well,
Right, but but they should at least either explain it or develop it, and it just sort of happens.
or at the very least, you could understand how it happened. In this case, it's one of those where you could kind of understand how it happens, but it still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And actually, like I said, there's a theory that I formulated at some point as to why that is. I don't think it has any kind of. I think I told Age of 7 this before the show, but I didn't tell him the actual theory, and I'm not going to say it now either. But I think if you fix on one point, it might explain why that choice happened, and it might have something to do with what another character did during that same episode. Or the first episode that the character showed up in, not necessarily when we saw the whole story, put it this way. Before we move on, though, let's see. Let me get a couple of these out of the way. It's probably is him due to his age and the time for. Yeah, okay, yeah. Come on. Oh, it's Von Gloom says it's funny that the stranger copied Magneto's strategy. I thought that exact same thing to block telepaths.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I thought the exact same thing. It was like, all right,
yeah.
Von Gloom with the theories, and I don't know about this, but Saul probably had some run-ins with Night Sisters in his youth that traumatized him. We'll never know.
Yeah,
and I don't think so. But
unfortunately, exactly. Unfortunately, we never know. And you know what's wild is Saul actually wins the duel.
Right.
Spoiler alert. Right. I mean, obviously, it doesn't help. It doesn't. That's a minor spoiler because it doesn't really affect how the story plays out. But he actually wins the duel.
Right. Kamir was advertising, which I just found out Kamir's name in what I think is Arabic for moon or something. I'm like, I can remember, which now it makes sense that whole all moon thing kind of makes some sense. But anyways, Kamir was advertising for its only Sith use. Oh yes, and we also got something, which I won't spoil it, but we also got an event that we had only seen if you've been reading Darth Vader's books or a Darth Vader book. we saw an event that happened that we'd only, as
Heard
far as I
about an
know,
event, right? We heard about an
seen
event,
there,
right?
right? Or seen there, yeah. Actually, wait, no, it actually showed up in Star Wars too, but that was like a little bit later. So either way, the Star Wars comics, a similar event happened in this that happened, and that was kind of cool in itself, personally. Ranger's lightsabers were cool, and the implications of his helmet definitely enhanced his coolness. And you know that saber's going to go on sale. They're going to make that saber.
Oh yeah.
They're absolutely going to do that. He
Oh yeah,
wasn't
with the twist out handle, yeah.
probably yes, and the little saber over that, yeah, absolutely. That. He wasn't a waste like Darth Vader's grandson. You so.
Oh no.
But that being the case, that was that was the Acolyte for so far. We're just waiting on to see, confirmation of an official season 2, because if it doesn't happen, it's a goddamn shame. That's a goddamn shame. Yeah, the bleeding was cool, but I guess Osha's rage. Yeah, well, I mean, it was that was kind of the process. So yeah, I would finish that sentence. That being the case, we are going to go into our next. Oh God, I knew this is going to be.
I mean, we'll talk about like the other shows that we watched this week.
No, that's what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about some little behind the scenes from me, because of some OBS things that I'm still trying to.
I didn't hear any Windows dings.
No, it wasn't that. OBS basically just
that's
an
inside joke, folks.
Yeah, really. OBS added chapter markers to it, to the ability to do chapter markers, and I set them up, and now I forgot what I set up as the thing, the thing to do it. So that's stupid on my part. Either way, that is the thing I'll have to deal with later. We're going to go into our next show, which is the penultimate episode of My Adventures with Superman, Season 2, Episode 9, called Pierce the Heavens, Superman.
Right. So if I recall, and I always joke about how I watched this, usually Sunday evening, and it's several days after when we finally talk about it. So my memory of it is a little, it's a little bare. But I'll from what I recall, the Brainiac controlled Superman is running roughshod, but they finally able to figure out a way to free him, and we get the appearance of a new action figure. I mean, a new costume, and but things are not looking good for our heroes at the end of this episode, as Brainiac this version of Brainiac really brings it against not just Kara and Kal-El, but also against the would-be defenders of Earth. So I think that's most of it. Roddykat will chime in.
No, that's pretty much the gist of it. We do get a little bit of, as I told Agent 7 prior to the show, we get a little bit of pseudo Groundhog Day with Lois and Clark / Kal-El before getting to that part, which, and that was kind of interesting. I was gonna say might have lingered a little too long, but nah, it was what it was in that case. Because you only got so many minutes in it. So now I'm looking forward to Sunday's finale. How did they get out of this mess? Don't know. We probably do, but we shall see. Yeah, I don't think there is anything that episode, now that I think about it, that was of note. It did have a very cute part.
And there's also to be continued, obviously, because there is no finality at the end of the episode, which Roddykat was kind enough to remind me of.
Von Gloom says, "Wonder how the Brainiac ordeal will impact Superman's perception with humanity. Is anything like what happened with Darkseid and Justice League? Probably going to be a little bit of that for an episode or two going into
the season, right?
Right.
Oh. Because we all have to, because all of the stories are what would our reactions really be if this happened in real life?
Right. Von Gloom also says, I guess Waller and her cronies will continue to hate him. Oh yeah, they're definitely going to be around. I'm still waiting to see if a certain event happens, a certain thing happens to one of the adversaries. I am starting to suspect it's not going to happen, and even if it's going to happen, it probably won't be. Depending on how long this show goes, it probably won't be another season, or at least another season. I don't know. That being said, that is my adventures with Superman. Last up for the shows, Agent 70 is going to talk about The Boys season 4, what finale?
Yes, it was the season finale. It just aired today. So as of this airing and taping, so I won't go too deeply into it, but I will say that, believe it or not, this is actually a pretty strong episode. There's a lot of stuff happening here. A lot of storylines are resolved, but also questions left lingering as we go into the final season. So as a setup for the final season, it's a really good episode. There's a couple of surprising things that happen even though they're kind of telegraphed. I was still actually surprised that they went through with a certain character being offed. And there is kind of like a post credit, like a end of story scene where there's a setup for the next season, and I give the folks who are behind the boys a lot of credit for finishing on a strong note because several of the episodes in the middle of the season were really lacking, and I had a tough time watching them. But this episode was a really strong finish to the season.
Von Gloom brings up something. Have you watched Gen V? Gen 5?
No, I will say that my understanding is that characters who appeared in Gen V now appear in The Boys.
Right.
And I just didn't have the wherewithal, the attention span to jump into Gen V. But I appreciate Avangaloon for bringing it up because I know that several characters who made some appearances during this season appeared first in Gen V.
Right. Yeah, he says he's behind on The Boys and Gen V series. That's what sparked that. Oh, that being the case, we can go into the books of the week, starting off with Invincible Iron Man, number 20.
Invincible Iron Man number 20 is written by Jerry Duggan, with art by Andrea DeVito, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by our favorite lettering python, the hardest working letterer over at Virtual Calligraphy, VC's Joe Caramagna. This is the last issue in this volume of Iron Man, and it wraps up Tony's involvement with the events surrounding and in and around Krakoa. And when I say wrap up, I really do mean wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, I will let Roddykat continue, and I will chime in as necessary.
Yeah, it pretty much, for the most part, every little dangling piece of note, I should say, that happened during these 20 issues of Invincible Iron Man pretty much got wrapped up. The whole thing with Rhodey's trial, with Rhodey and the trial, the thing with Riri, which brought up a point that was like, oh wait, so what happened with those? I totally forgot.
You got me. I'm glad that you asked me because, well, I'm surprised that you asked me because I thought you might know.
I think I do, but I would have to go back and confirm because I do remember a thing happening with the with a set of jewelry that she had, and I think they're still there. I just don't fully remember, but I think that's what happened with it. That's why I was like, because when I first read it, I was like, wait, I got to do some thinking because that was like issues ago.
Got it.
But that being said, we start seeing a little bit of some what Tony and crew are going to get into next, and I'm slightly excited, but slightly worried
Hmm.
because I think I made a joke last issue about something about what force release works or something like that. I said I can't remember what I said.
Yeah,
And but
work release works or something like that.
yes, yeah. But it sounds like, according to the last page of this issue, we may be getting a little bit more classic in naming conventions with Avengers adjacent teams.
Right.
So
We also got news, if I'm not mistaken, we also got news today about the upcoming not reboot, but restart of an Iron Man ongoing.
we absolutely have that in the news. All
Gotcha.
right. Speaking of, well,
right. There's one thing I wanted to make note of. That Roddykat mentioned that most of the hanging or dangling plot lines were resolved. I like that Duggan found a way to get Tony some money back.
yes.
Because obviously that was an ongoing plot device for, I believe, the last 2 Iron Man volumes that he was down and out.
Yes, actually. Well, I don't know how down he was, considering he was able to still do as much as he's done. But yes,
Right.
He's now solvent again. Which
Right.
You knew they were
Very
going to
much
deal with
so.
some kind of way.
Very much so. So
I do love the way.
kinda got a kick. What's that?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Because you're about to probably going to say the same thing I was about to.
No, probably not. I was just gonna say I got a kick out of that, like kind of putting him back in the game in that regard.
Oh,
It comes as a kind of either a settlement or severance package. You could look at it in a couple different ways.
yeah. I was just going to say the way that was handled with the process of that happening was definitely done, and probably should come back up in some kind of way. But I don't know who's to say whether it will or not. But it seems it. I would like to believe they wouldn't have gone through the trouble of setting it up the way they did if it wasn't going to come up,
Right.
some kind of way. So couldn't happen to a better bunch of folks. That's all I'll say.
Right.
That's all I'll say about that. But yeah, actually, I think I have this marked as a potential click of the week. I do actually. Yeah.
Nice. I liked it for for how it did not leave things neat and tidy, but it did end things on mostly a good note. Also with a Street Fighter character, I mean Fei Long, and we find out what actually happened to him.
Yeah, which also opens the door for that character to come back at some point. Which, of course,
Right.
That's
the intention.
Right. So not surprising in one whatsoever with how something's kind of wrapped up, because like I said, it feels like some of this stuff is going to come back up at some point. But yeah, that was Invincible Iron Man 20. Well, after Krakoa is over, this pretty much caps off that part of it.
Right.
And with that, we go to our next book, which is No Love, number 1. I mean, Namor, number 1.
Namor number 1 is written by Jason Aaron, with art by Paul Davidson and Alex Lins, color art by Neeraj Menon, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan yet again, VC's Joe Caramagna. I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed this issue, because it was like the art it kind of grew on me. It's meant, I believe, to evoke the Jay Lee art from the 90s, but it wasn't. It's this the style of art's usually not my cup of tea, but I found it growing on me. And there's a flashback sequence that is, I believe, drawn in a style that is much more aesthetically appeasing to my sense of style. But ultimately, I like the story. I believe that Jason Aaron really hit upon where Namor, the character, is right now in the Marvel Universe. And I know that Atman Wang 97 will appreciate the appearance of a certain character.
I was going to mention
in this issue, and possibly in this series. So, shout out to Atman Wang 97. And but ultimately, I actually like this. I like this issue. I don't think it's potential click of the week stuff for me, but I liked it. I thought it was a strong first issue.
I agree with that. In fact, I was there was part of me when I was at the comic book shop was like, should I actually pick this up? That sight unseen, because like I don't know, it's Jason Aaron, so it's gonna be all right there. We weren't really sure about what this book was getting to because of not reading. Well, we talked about it when it was announced, but what this thing get into is this book um, sets the plate for. So it was like, okay, I thought it was gonna be like is Jason Aaron trying to do Black Bolt. Um, no, not really.
Right.
Definitely not really. But maybe who's to say what's going on here? But yeah, the appearance of the other character and what's said setting up, which sounds like it could end up being another Marvel event, but I don't think so. It's because it's kind of singular.
Right.
But it could make for some good reading. We'll find that out as this series goes by.
Right, because the character of Namor has gone through a couple of different transformations and ideological shifts over the last several years. So it's interesting to see Aaron play with that. Obviously, he was responsible for some of it in the pages of Avengers.
Yep.
So you see him now carrying that stuff forward into Namor series.
Yeah, and yeah, some would argue his ideology has flip flopped over the course of the decades.
Right. Oh no, it certainly has. And listen, it started with his very first appearances in Marvel Comics when they were still timely, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
There's a flip flop when he's fighting the android Human Torch.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mercurial is your name is Namor.
Pretty much. So Von Gloom says, as much as I hate F-Boy Aquaman, I enjoy this issue. Yeah, that's
F-Boy Aquaman, really? Yeah.
That's fun. But yeah, it's a fairly strong first issue for this. I'm like, it definitely has me intrigued to keep going with and there's only 8 issues in the whole series anyway, as we know. So,
but does it say one of 8?
It doesn't, but I recall when we talked about it initially being announced that it was going to be, and that has been confirmed. That it's 8 issues, unless at some point along the way they were like, oh no, now we're making another an ongoing, which I can't see at this point, but
yeah, I don't think the character has had that kind of a following. Although that Namor run from the 90s was pretty extensive.
Yeah, I had a couple of little decent things since then. Also, nothing. I wouldn't care enough to pick up this book on a regular basis, but that's just me. There are fans. I'm sure there are. That being the case, we will move on to our next #1 book of the week, which is that one, Phoenix #1.
Phoenix #1 is written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Alessandro Miracolo, color art by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. This helps to set up the premise for this Phoenix series, in that we're trying to figure out why Phoenix is doing what she's doing, why Jean Grey is doing what she's doing. And she is obviously embracing the Phoenix Force now more so than ever before, and has left the confines of Earth, much like a reverse Silver Surfer, right? She's gone out to find herself and her and her cosmic self, as it were, whereas the Silver Surfer is constantly going back to Earth to find his humanity. So it's the reverse. She's going off to space to seek, she's looking for something when it comes to her identity with relation to the Phoenix Force. I enjoyed this issue. I thought it was well done. I particularly liked the cameo and guest appearance made by one Richard Rider, aka basically the last Nova, and that particular role that he plays in the universe comes into play in this issue. Anything off the Roddykat?
Yeah, some would argue, hey, was this book necessary? You know, I'm sure detractors will have their reasons, whatever, and there are haters all around because of. So we're not. It definitely was a fairly good start for for this book, and like I said, from what we've got from ending of the Krakoan era as to Jean/Phoenix's place makes a whole lot of sense.
Right.
Um, I don't mind it. It's all right. Like I said, this is another one. I'm gonna keep some side tabs on just to kind of see where this goes. We know that she's going to be entangled with a certain um, set of Avengers adversaries at some point soon. And a matter of fact, I think the end of this book kind of teases.
Right.
But
Yeah. You do see a splash page. I'm like, what's going on here? Why? How do they, run into each other? But I wanted to mention. I know I've talked about this when we were talking about the upcoming books in the From the Ashes era that we're now firmly in post Krakoa. That Marvel distinctly lacks space-based books right now. We don't have a Guardian series. We don't have a Silver Surfer series. We get Phoenix. And maybe this is one way for them to, no pun intended, reignite the cosmic corner of the Marvel Universe.
at the very least, hey, let people know, hey, it's still out there. People still got people out there doing stuff.
Right. But just to, bring an established X character in as a way in.
Right. Well, I guess back in, considering how many times that they've been out in space. But yeah, I see what you're.
Right.
Von Gloom asked, "Did we see the tracing controversy with the Phoenix artist?" No, I have not. Have you seen anything about that?
Which artist?
The Phoenix
I
artist.
mean, we're not talking about Greg Land.
No, Phoenix artist.
Alessandro Miracolo?
Right. But no, I haven't heard anything about that.
I haven't. If you could point us to something, drop a link.
Yeah, or I'll probably look later. But also Von Gloom says I need to grow up because every time I hear Nova, I think Dick Fighter. You ain't the only one. You're not the only one. I feel like that was purposely on their part, but not in the way that we know it now. I mean, because you could probably say something slightly similar to less effect for one Grayson, for one Dick Grayson.
Right.
Doesn't have the same effect, obviously. All right. Thank you very much for that. I'll check it out. Let's see. Next up, though, our next book is actually our last book that we have in common. I'll save the soundbite for Spectacular Spider-Man #5.
Spectacular Spider-Man #5 is written by Greg Weisman, with pencils by Humberto Ramos, inks by Victor Olazaba, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we get the immediate continuation of the last issue, with Miles and Peter facing off against each other, thinking the other is a robot, made of arcade stuff, right? An arcade-based robot. I kind of got a kick out of Peter complaining that Miles has all of these extra powers, because that's always my complaint now. I'm like, all right, I get it. He can do this. He can do this. He can do more than Peter. Wait. Now he can form energy swords out of the venom. What? Wait just a second. So I kind of got a kick out of that. I was like, yeah, I feel you on this one. I don't get it either.
Basically, we're saying that Miles is the superior Spider-Man. Got it.
More like the OP Spider-Man now. Oh no, I'm using new gamer tech, new gamer language.
Yeah, the thing that yeah, right. The thing
You
that
know?
tickled me about this issue was how long it took for them to kind of spoil it out, but you knew it was going to happen at some point. Kind of how long for them to figure it out,
Right.
given their abilities.
Right. But they're also giving, Weissman's giving Ramos a chance to really draw some kinetic panels
Right.
with the battle between the two. So I get that. And we still get to see some of the mystery being the progress of the mystery being solved in the background, like in the other parts of the book.
But on the other side of that, and actually that what I just said kind of reminds me of a conversation about the Acolyte that again that was had a couple of days ago at Montgomery Shop, which I won't go into, but kind of on the same point, like how do you not know because of you? Like because you're not thinking about it at the time and you're not feeding into it. That's not how the spider powers work.
Right.
Like
Right.
it kind of does in this particular case, but still the effect is still the same. But I do love that being said, I do love how quickly they pieced everything else together after after that part got done. And we also get a little bit more on the other side of this, I guess the kind of the B plot in a way of this, dealing with clones and who may or may not be back in the picture. That was kind of alluded to, but they kind of made it seem like it wasn't.
Right.
But may actually be the case, judging by what happened at the or the conversation at the end of this. I guess we'll find out next issue. Book continues to still be pretty good, pretty entertaining. I was going to mention that there was a Hammerhead kind of makes an appearance here. That now that I think about it, it feels like a blink and you miss. Not from.
Well, he makes an appearance at the end of the last issue.
I know.
It's kind of yeah, and obviously we get the final the splash page at the end, the cliffhanger. Involves him also.
Right, but like I said, he does come into play here, and then things happen, and then poof, it's gone. So, but like I said, maybe there's going to be more on that next issue, or not. We don't know. That being said, that ends the books that we have in common. Rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to breathe.
First up for me is Nightwing number 116. It's written by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Wes Abbott. This is a direct follow-up to the previous issue, and we get a lot of developments here. Nightwing is facing off against the machinations of Heartless, and Heartless definitely has the upper hand at this point. He's really pushed Nightwing into a corner, and he has to go through some interesting. He has to go through an interesting route to rediscover himself, and in the meantime, another character is looking to help in a way that reciprocates what Nightwing once did for this character, and I kind of laughed at it because it's not very convincing. But hey, it's comics. So, but this is definitely a potential click of the week for me because it's just really strong. Nightwing is almost always strong, but this issue in particular was pretty strong. Next up is Daredevil Woman Without Fear #1. It's written by Erica Schultz with art by Michael Dowling, colors by Dee Cunniffe, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. Now, what's interesting about this book is that it involves a Daredevil. This is the Elektra Daredevil, outside of what I guess is the primary Daredevil book, because she shows up in that one too. This, though, lets the Elektra story continue to unfold now that Matt Murdock is back as basically, the other Daredevil, and basically dominating the story in the other book. So giving the Elektra Daredevil some room to breathe is fun. Interestingly, in this, they change. She changes locales as well as they. Erica Schultz brings in a guest appearance slash cameo slash. Probably it's probably something that is a character that may provide more interesting things down the road. It's the new Punisher or the current Punisher. It's not Frank Castle. So that character appears. It's my first experience reading this character, but there's not much to it at this point. We'll find out more in the next issue. Next up, surprisingly, Roddykat did not read or chose not to put into the sheet Dracula Blood Hunt #3. It's written by Danny Lore with art by Vincenzo Caratu, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. All I'll say about it is this, because I don't know if Roddykat intended to read this.
Yes, I will. Just didn't get a chance to.
Understood. So the one thing I'll say is what I've been saying about this series the entire time. This is probably the one Blood Hunt tie-in that's required reading, because you see not just Bloodline, but also Dracula, and see how they develop over the course of these 3 issues and how that will tie into how Blood Hunt had developed and will wrap up in issue #5, which I believe comes out next week. Next, we're gonna confirm that. I haven't looked at the solicits for next week.
I'll do that while you're talking about your next book.
All right, next up for me is Immortal Thor Annual #1. It's written by Al Ewing with art by David Baldion, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. I'm not a fan of the current wave of annuals. I do like this one, though. It's Al Ewing. He almost always hits it out of the park. He's doing a phenomenal job on Immortal Thor right now. This is one of the funnier books I've read in a while, surprisingly enough. It ties into the whole Infinity Gem, Infinity Watch, Infinity Stone thing that's going on in other annuals. And Al Ewing finds a way to tie it into the current Thor story, which is obviously just, only takes a couple of panels, but it makes sense. Bottom line, though, it's just a fun, wild read. There is a backup story that involves the son of Cole and Nighthawk, but bottom line is that the main story. Listen, you will enjoy reading it. It's a lot of fun. You don't even have to be that up on Marvel lore or the current happenings in the Thor book. It's just a lot of fun. And I think that's it for me.
The others you have on here. So Blood Hunt actually comes out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, so beginning of August. Okay.
Yeah, the 31st.
Oh, end of July. Actually, yeah, exactly. So we'll be reviewing it at the beginning of August.
2 weeks. Von Gloom said the last panel of Nightwing was insane. Bats was insane for that. Also, the Nightwings.
Yeah. Like that's what I was referring to when I saw that. I said to myself, that's not all that convincing, but I get it.
Alrighty, folks. For me, we're going to start off with Destro #2 of 5. Excuse me. Written by Dan Waters, art by Andre Bresson, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Russ Wooten. So first of all, there was a fact that was brought up in this issue that I very much never remembered, and that fact is the Crimson Twins' last name. Because you never really, heard them call anybody call them by their last name, or at least during the show, I should say. Obviously, it probably came up during like the Marvel run or the books or something. But clearly, yeah, they do have a last name. and it got brought up here just on an off chance. But I was like, wait, okay, sure. But the issue, and I know 870 said he didn't watch it and he's not really been keeping listen or read it, but not necessarily been keeping up with the miniseries. This was an interesting one to read personally because you basically have, yeah, exactly. I don't recall them being addressed by it either. So uh last issue, Destro had an arms party, whatever. He got attacked. He is assuming that it was some competitors of his, and by the aforementioned Crimson Twins, because they didn't show up. Also, but I don't know where he jumped from A to B. But also at the same time, the Crimson Twins have their thoughts on what happened to it because they heard about what happened and thinking Destro did it. He basically did he bombed his own party just to discredit them. So which leads the two parties basically trying to square off against each other because not knowing what actually happened, and we actually still don't know who was behind it, or do we?
Or do we?
I say and do we because it's not said here, but I feel like there's a party that we do know that is around and that might have probably had a hand in it for some odd reason, or it could be somebody new. Maybe we'll find out during the course of this miniseries, which I would suspect is going to be the case. But yeah, so the let's just say the relationship between Destro and the twins, was already tenuous during the course of the show, the animated show, and they gave a pretty good reason, or they give a pretty legitimate reason here, quote unquote, as to why that would be in this particular in position. And yes, Von Gloom, you are with me on who might actually be the culprit behind this, but we don't know. So he was a man. Anyway, Von Gloom also asks, wonder how Destro and Devourness' relationship will work in the Energon universe. Assuming they do it, well, we'll find out. Or when we find out, because I mean, they may go with those stupid live action movies, and might end up having a relationship with Duke for a while. Either way, next up though, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures continued at number 15. My next book, story by Eric Burnham, art by Dan Schoening, letters by Ed Dukeshire, and colors by Luis Antonio Delgado. So we are introduced to the Pantheon, which I believe maybe, unless it's showed up in the 80s animated Turtle show, which I don't think was the case. But then again, there's only so much of that I remember anyway. We're introduced to the Pantheon, and they have beef with the Turtles and the Earth. Well, and they have plans for the Earth, I should say, because they are like universal or multiversal, a pantheon of bad guys or whatever, crime syndicate, whatever you want to call it. There's a reference to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game, which was pretty cool to see right up front. Before getting into their plans for the Turtles and the Earth, which involves a ruse of a sort. And apparently Mikey is a threat. So what do I mean by that? You'll have to read and find out. Next up, Star Trek number 22. In fact, this is probably going to be a double. But written by Cotton Kelly and Jackson Lansing, former guest of the show. Art by Megan Levins. Colors by Lee Luffridge. Letters by Clayton Cowles. So this continues that whole Plamora arc where the crew of the Theseus basically dropped in on a meeting of various space gods of the Star Trek universe, trying to help this other space god, this other individual from a semi-space god camp get their people back. And on the other side of this, we have some Section 31 shenanigans thanks to um, a crew member who has been feeling some things because of what happened in the last couple of arcs of this book. So they have been recruited, and they ended up started some things that kind of sort of leads into the next book I'm going to talk about, which is Star Trek Annual number 22. Excuse me, no, I'm sorry. Star Trek Annual 2024 is the actual title. Also written by Colin Cudley and Jackson Lansing, art by Rachel Stott, colors by Charlie Kirchhoff, and letters also again by Clayton Cowles. So the reason why this is tied in is because the events of this book feeds back into the end of Star Trek 22, going into Star Trek number 23, which is going to be the next issue, which is not out yet, by the way. It's going to, so and this particular issue, if you're watching the video version, you can see who's on the cover. That's Data and Lore, and basically we find Data going after Lore because he had been feeling some kind of way about after when Lore escaped from the DCS, probably about an arc or two back. And he enlists some help. One, his best friend, and another, a DS9 / also TNG staple, who is also an engineer. And you might be able to figure out who both of those people are by that. So yeah, but like I said, now, would you want to read the annual before you read number 22? You could, or you could read it the other way around, which I did, and I don't think it's going to hurt you too terribly much. Von Gloom asks, how the hell is Lore back after messing with the Borg Queen? Well, one, this is comics, and two, I don't know if that's well, actually, that might have been explained when he got brought into the series. I can't remember. Next up, though, Ultimate X-Men number 5, which I can't remember if Agent 70 is going to read this or not, but written in art by Peter Momoko, script adaptation by Zach Davison, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham.
Eventually,
yeah. So I won't spoil too much, which it's kind of hard for me to spoil this book because the book's kind of weird. So we're continuing on with what's been going on with Hisako, but she enlists the help of Nico for a thing, and that leads into kind of Nico learning a little bit more about her powers. And at the end of this book, let's just say, well, something gets named near the end of this, but they kind of, there's a kind of a couple of different missions going on, and they might be intersecting because of some information that's given in this book. Yeah, I wasn't gonna mention that at Von Gloom. Von Gloom mentioned something about this issue. There's a part with the relatively newly introduced Surge character and someone she's dealt with, but also, hey, that is a thing not only in Japan but here. But that is definitely a thing that is that has come up in anime and or other manga and other media of that being a thing. Yeah, that was a weird thing, but like I said, not outside the realm of things happening. Next up, though, what else do I have left? Okay. Oh, got one more book. Spider-Woman number 9. That is my last book. Before we talk about some of the stuff we didn't get to, actually. Written by Steve Fox, art by Iguara, colors by Arif Prianto, and letters by BC's Joe Sabino this time. So, just kind of one of the kids of the assembly, I believe their name is called kind of enlists Jess's help for a reason that we kind of find out a little bit about last issue, but find out a little bit more. about this issue, and obviously Jeff is going to help because it kind of sounds familiar to her backstory, in a way. So, but to do that, they have to enlist the help of someone that they pretty much set up. um, and at the end of this, Jess kind of gets a clue into who she's actually fighting, in who's undercover, or who's under a guise, I should say. She doesn't necessarily get the reveal, but she gets a clue to the reveal near the end of this. And that, folks, is that Kliqs of the Week.
Kliqs of the week.
So I wanted to say before we get into Kliqs, and if I don't know if Agent 70 needs a little bit more time anyway, but we didn't get a chance to read Thundercats #6, which did come out this week, because we didn't get we didn't get a review copy, even though I have a paper copy and didn't read it because I'm realizing I'm being more of a digital slob now more than ever. But they did come out this week. Also, there was a Deadpool Plays the Marvel Universe trade that came out, which has to do with that Marvel RPG that is out. So that might be something folks might be interested in. Haven't checked it out, so don't know. And of course, there's Biker Mice from Mars came out from Oni Press this week, but we didn't get a chance to read that because we didn't get a copy of that. And also Powerpuff Girls #1, which came out for, I believe, Dynamite, which we did get a copy of, but we didn't have a chance to read. And I don't think too many people. I don't think Age of I'm going to read it because I'm curious, but I don't think Age of 7 was going to read that anyway. So
nope. So I'm between two books, Nightwing #116 and the Immortal Thor Annual #1, because I definitely enjoyed reading both of them. They stood out very much so against the rest of the books I read this week. So I'm just going to decide between those two. How about yourself?
I did say Invincible Iron Man. Destro might be up there. Spectacular might. Although, we're kind of at that point where it's like, yeah, things were good this week, but there was nothing great stand out. There was nothing really, really stand out about this week. There was some potentially good stuff in here, definitely.
All right. And I was disappointed, and thank you, Von Gloom, for sending over that link.
Yes.
About the art from Phoenix #1. Yeah, that's disappointing. Those are some pretty obvious swipes, and there is a community online that definitely goes into books looking for stuff like that. And it's disappointing to see.
Oh,
like you kind of hope that it's more of an homage, but these are very clearly swipes.
Right. Von Gold also says the Drake cameo was definitely unexpected in Ultimate X-Men.
Oh no! Now I'm gonna have to look at that. That's fun.
Yeah, it's very glaring there. Not Drake actually, but to what he's alluding to.
Oh
so, you know what? Actually, I think I'm just gonna go with Invincible Iron Man.
All right.
Enough.
Cool. I'm going to have to make a choice here. And I think what I'm going to choose is... Oh, so hard. It's basically a coin flip for me because I enjoyed reading both of these so much today. Let's go Nightwing. Nightwing #116. It's a very close race because that Immortal Thor... There are a couple of scenes in that Immortal Thor that actually, I couldn't believe I was reading in an annual, which only, like I said, which only tangentially ties into the current happenings in the pages of the regular series. So,
but also, like I said, shout out to Destro. I know there are people who think that is a weak issue, but I don't think it is. Like there's some stuff that kind of tickled me about it. Going into it.
There you go.
There was actually one more book I was going to mention, but I'm not because I don't remember what it is now. So with that, we're going to go into the news section. But first, our first ad read.
Our first ad of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
All right, cinematic news about what we do about this time. Marvel rewrites Israeli superhero into former Black Panther. So I guess spoiler. Spoiler kind of for a movie that's not out yet, sort of. But so apparently, the Captain America: Brave New World trailer is out, and Marvel's confirmed that a major change to as this article says, a controversial character. Unorthodox star Shira Haas's casting in the sequel was announced September 2022, with subsequent details confirming her character to be Ruth, after speculation that she would be playing Israeli superhero Sabra, whom I only know from Contest of Champions and probably one or two other times that characters have actually ever showed up.
And hummus.
Yes. Yes, I don't eat hummus, but I actually do know there is a brand of that brand. So that's funny. But according to the article, they have changed that according to, after comments to Variety in 2022 promising a different take on Sabra's origin. Marvel.com's official trailer release announcement, according to this article, confirms that she has been reimagined as a former Black Widow, which, I don't know.
There's a bunch of them floating out there.
Right. So I guess at this point, that makes sense because of that reason.
Right.
But at the same time, I guess given real world things, no. Well, was Sapper really that popular? No. Like I said, I just told you where I saw that character, and I don't recall that character showing up like probably one other time in modern era that I know of, and even that was probably a few years ago from now. I'm sure that character's probably been around in something we haven't seen, but yeah. Contest of Champions, and probably one other time that I can't even think of when that character. Probably some Al Ewing thing, more than likely, because he's good for pulling out stuff like that. So, yeah. Next up.
All right, in a massive Marvel surprise, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame directors Joe and Anthony Russo, best known as the Russo Brothers, are reportedly in talks to return to the MCU to direct the next two Avengers films. The news comes via Hollywood Reporter report, which obviously cautions that talks are still in the early stages. And this article goes on to talk about other directors who've been in line to possibly direct the next Avengers movies, but we've seen them. There's rumors, and obviously we know that Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, was originally set to lead Avengers 5, but he stepped away last year.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm thinking, hey, look, the Russo did did great with the last couple of movies they did, including the Captain America ones.
Right.
Why would you not get them for this one? Get them for this one.
Right. As long as the writing holds up, that's the thing. My gut says they're going to insist that the script and the writing teams for Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War and Winter Soldier, taking from those teams, those writing teams.
We would hope. Von Gloom says he knows Saber from the X-Men books. Like, yeah, I think she was a mute I'm not mistaken. And again, that might have been the last place he's been, but who knows how long ago that goes. Anywho's, come on, come on. There's some weird things been going on with Chrome lately, or it could be because I had like half a dozen tabs up. But The Boys season 4 brought back its best character, and you definitely missed it. This is from comicbook.com, so I'll take its word for it. And that the character is Terra the dog. That ring any bells?
You got me.
Okay, yeah. So this is, I guess, a spoiler for the last episode, not this, not the season finale. So next up,
Right. All right. A 52 episode animated series based on classic toys was finished over 4 years ago, but even the creator does not know where it is. The creator of the unreleased Micronauts series has spoken out. What? So,
I knew you would have some feelings about this.
right. The creator of an unreleased animated Micronauts series has revealed that he does not know what happened to the show after it was completed over 4 years ago, and he has asked Hasbro for answers. So, wow, 52 half hours were fully produced.
Yeah, that's
Eric Rogers wrote this on X and X Twitter, and let's see, he was the co-creator, EP, executive producer, head writer. Ask Hasbro what they're doing with it, because no one there will tell me. We locked that last episode in January 2020, right before the onset of the pandemic. Wow.
Yeah, that's like 2 seasons classically.
Wow.
So I want you to take the next one because there's kind of an update to it.
Okay.
No, I don't. This is not a Zaslav thing. Von Gloom.
Yeah, right. The Hasbro thing.
Yeah, basically.
All right, 1 second. All right, Micronauts animated show may not be dead. Hasbro wants to package it with a potential live action TV series and a movie. Good Lord.
Well,
So, to follow up on that previous story, Hasbro, which produced the so far unseen animated show based on the popular 70s toy line, still hasn't let Rogers know what's happening with the series since locking that last episode. In an era where completed projects like Batgirl have gotten the axe allegedly for tax write-offs, it's not a huge leap to assume that it's been scrapped altogether. And what's the update?
that is the update because.
That's the update. I got you.
Yeah. And actually, yeah. So the last law thing is kind of funny because I thought about that because dude did say, I saw his tweet. It was like, yeah, the thing got Batgirled.
Yeah,
that was the initial tweet. That was from that was the last article we're talking about. But yeah, so a couple of days later, there may or may not be something to this, but it'll be interesting if it happens. But also, who at this point knows anything about the Micronauts outside of say and the few other ROM Space Knight / Micronauts fans out there, and I'm sure there are plenty.
I'm sure there are plenty.
So, or at least there's that one fan account. There's always a fan account for that stuff. But 52 episodes is basically 2 seasons. Boys and Girls used to be anyway for animated series. We got spoiled in a way, even though we had to wait each week to watch said shows. We still got them. Anyway, definitive Batman Kevin Conroy praised for final performance in Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3, which I think is out there on Max at this point. Because I have seen people talking about it. I have not seen any of those. But yeah, this is Conroy's absolute last role apparently. I wouldn't say anyway. There was another video game one that he was supposed to be a part of, but I think that may or may not be the case, and this might actually be the actual last one, but I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. So, and yeah, this article gives his last lines and a bunch of tweets from X / Twitter, which we won't get into. But yeah, if you want to hear you know, Conroy one last time and haven't played any of those Arkham Asylum games, here you go. Next up.
Alrighty. James Gunn unveiled the new Superman logo, the shield that he wears on his chest. That's both nostalgic and new. And fans apparently don't know how to feel. That is some rhetoric and hyperbole from Slash Film, Games Radar, or Total Film, right?
It is Total Film, yes.
Right, Total Film. So what it resembles is the Kingdom Come shield, Superman shield logo, but instead of being red and black, it's the classic red and yellow. I actually am a big fan of the Kingdom Come shield. I had Superman Kingdom Come shield T-shirt that I wore to pieces during college. Wore it to pieces. It was such a great shirt.
If you're watching on the video, if you're watching the video version of the podcast, you can see said logo right there. Weirdly enough, I'm in a Gossip Man mood, so this is reminding me of that hard. And also, I didn't read Kingdom Come yet at this point.
Really?
Yeah. Remember, that was one of the ones we were supposed to go. Yeah, I didn't, because I have it. I do have the trade or the copies of them, but remember, because that was one of the ones that if we were getting around to it during COVID,
for the Evergreen episodes,
we would have gotten to, but we never did. So, and I think the only, I've seen like pictures of stuff from Kingdom Come, but I've never actually read it, so I don't know. Either way, that's that. But yeah, this article basically goes through people's, yummy, one way or the other. So there is that. Blue-Eyed Samurai and The Simpsons. Well, Blue-Eyed Samurai, The Simpsons, and more are nominated for Best Animated Series, which the Simpsons still being on is ridiculous. Also, X-Men '97 is also in that category, by the way. That's so let's see. Simpsons, wait, do we have a whole thing? Here we go. Blue-Eyed Samurai, which I need to finish. Bob's Burgers, Scavenger's Run, which I hear decent things about, The Simpsons, and X-Men '97. There are particular episodes, and of course the one for X-Men '97 is Remember It.
Remember It.
Mm-hmm. Which
I won't lie. Yeah, I won't lie. I'm rooting for Blue Eye Samurai.
From what I've seen of it, I remember it was being pretty good. I don't know that. Yeah, I would almost agree with that, but that Remember It was pretty effective.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Blue Eye Samurai.
So,
and also shout out to the folks who were at the lead of Shogun, because they got a ton of nominations for drama series.
And I believe The Bear is going up for a comedy.
Yes, no one understands that. The Bear is only vaguely a comedy once in a while.
Oh, I understand it, but it still doesn't make any sense. It's clearly to get them in there.
Right.
As opposed to it being an actual case. It's not the first show or project that's happened to. So it'll give them a better chance at actually winning something, I guess.
Right.
So, but it still doesn't make any sense. So, because I haven't watched the show and I know it was like it didn't seem that much of a comedy from accounts. So
yeah, Bear is awesome though. You should definitely watch it.
Yeah. All right.
Next,
now we get into the Anime Corner.
Transmute.
One Piece is celebrating the 25th anniversary this year. And that means it's going to be bigger than ever for One Piece Day 2024, coming at some point this summer. Let's see, when does One Piece Day actually hit? So this is August 9th. Wow. Okay. August 9th and 10th. So yeah, they're doing some live stuff in Japan with the exhibition area, open stage. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think the day. Yeah, I think the day is the 9th, but they're doing something the whole weekend.
Yeah. So it's the weekend of August 11th and 12th.
Right.
But according to I'm sorry. I apologize. It's the weekend of the 11th and 12th of August, but they're doing some streaming of stuff starting August 9th.
Right. All you One Piece fans,
You know, there's a bunch of years.
we do know that for certain. I think actually Von Gloom might be one of them. I'm not sure. Next up, though, Ranma One Half anime returns with original voice cast on October 5th.
Wow.
There is a trailer from MAPPA that was released, apparently. I guess the question to my mind is, are we talking... Well, that answers the question. I was about to say, are we talking Japanese cast or are we talking US cast? And it is the Japanese cast. So,
right. Because some of us never hear the US cast.
Some folks are biased. I am not. Well, slightly I am, but I appreciate English voice actors. Hope keep getting that work, y'all. It's gotten way better than when I was a kid. That's for sure. There's sometimes I watch some stuff on Retro Crush and it's like, oh God, yes, we had it terribly. It was terrible. Von Gloom says Ranma One Half might be cringy by today's standards. Might be. That's yeah, that might be. But
yeah, it depends on how they work. You know, how they adapt the story.
Right. I don't think they're going to do any of that stuff they did with the original series for this new thing. So I think it's going to be probably a little bit tamer than that original series was. Not saying that original series wasn't tame, but yeah, it was a little out there. Anyway, we'll go into the manga corner.
Solo Leveling Manhwa continues with Ragnarok sequel series this August. So Webtoon platform is set to debut the new series with artwork from Jin. Okay. So this is set to debut via Webtoon on August 1st, 2024. That's not far from now. So all you fans of Solo Leveling, get ready.
I am too, even though I haven't finished reading the original series yet. But yeah, cool. Next up, though, Udon licenses authorized manga biography of Peanuts cartoonist Charles M. Schulz. Weird set of words, but hey, gotta love it. So Udon Entertainment announced that it will release the first book in its manga biographies series on October the 2nd. Yuzuru Cookie's 168-page manga biography, Charles M. Schulz, has a cover illustrated by Chico, and who is apparently the illustrator for Weathering with You, Your Name, and Voice of a Distant Star. Kadokawa published the authorized biography in Japan in 2019 as a part of its series of manga biographies. Charles M. Schulz, Creative Associates, was in charge of editorial supervision on the manual. And if you're watching the video version, you can see the cover of said book right there. Next up.
All right. The folks behind San Diego Comic-Con are threatening to leave San Diego after 2026 over hotel price gouging issues, something that I am familiar with. So, as reported by the Mercury News, Comic-Con's Chief Communications and Strategy Officer David Glanzer confirmed this past Wednesday that the company agreed to a one-year extension with the San Diego Tourism Authority to stay in San Diego, but was unwilling to commit to inking a 2-year contract. So in good faith, they decided to sign this contract for one more year with the understanding they could meet the room block needs for 2026, but for 2025, they're still far below where they would want to be in their hotel rooms. Some people have described this as hotel apocalypse. Oh, Jesus. Hotel apocalypse. So, Apocalypse. So, to describe how cutthroat and competitive it is to get a hotel room close to the event. If I do end up getting to San Diego next year, I'm going to have to start looking into hotels now, which sucks. Now or towards the end of this year, and that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, but see, the problem with that though, they're not even going to have that out there up until
Information, exactly.
right, for another 6 months, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, beginning at the end of the year, that's really where people, November, December is I think when people really start to book those.
Pretty much. So I've seen chatter about this on the Twitter/X, and I kind of agree with the fact that I don't think San Diego's moving. I'd be surprised if it does. And I don't think, even if it did move, I don't think that's what this is about is going to change, because wherever it lands, hotels are gonna try to get people.
Right.
So, therein lies that. Von Gloom says Udon still exists. Yes, it does. And I don't think they went bankrupt, but they definitely still putting out stuff. Because I know I see stuff for like Street Fighter comic books, and actually I think they might have a Night Stalker coming, but I still see stuff coming out from them when I'm looking through the new releases. So they are absolutely still around. Next up, though, DC announces SDCC 2024 panel and exclusive list. The likes of My Adventures with Superman, The Penguin, and more are headed to San Diego. I'm sure we will be talking more about that after the show next week, or after the week after the show. Excuse me, not next show, because it'll be just starting. So they got some T-shirts on sale here. There's the logo that we saw from James Gunn's Superman, something with All-Star Superman, and a bunch of other stuff that seems to be going to be talked about, and of course the panel listing in this article, if you are so inclined to check that out. Next up,
okay,
you can take this one and the next one.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a little confusing. So Darkseid will divide Absolute and Classic DC universes for DC All In. So a promo image for DC All In, showing off the two narratives, including the Absolute universe and Darkseid as the central threat to both. Really?
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing their own Ultimates finally?
Darkseid is.
Hmm.
And of course, the next part about that is...
Right. Hold on, just real quick. The Absolute universe features revamped heroes like a bulkier Batman and a sword-wielding Wonder Woman. Not all that different. Industry talents like Scott Snyder, Jason Aaron, and Kelly Thompson helm the Absolute narrative. Both DC narratives promise fresh entry points for fans as part of the expansive DC All In event. Okay.
I mean, that biggest
wow! They got Diana with the anime sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she got the damn Buster sword almost.
What the hell?
It's funny. So, and Von Gloop says all in Superman looks like Ezra Miller. I don't see it, but I guess I can see where you could catch it.
Yeah, it's the hair.
Yeah. And God, I hope not. But
oh my God! All right, so I'll take the next one. Like you said, let me get this open. Batman and Superman get new origins in DC Comics' Absolute Universe. Wow! So it's Absolute versus Ultimate Universe. I love it.
Again, I was about to say, good. I mean, I'm surprised it took them this long to do that.
Right. So let's see.
Diana's cosplaying Guts. Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what. No, but there's a specific sword that's supposed to harken to. It's not.
You talking about Cloud from Final Fantasy?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a similar sword, similar type sword. Yeah.
All right.
Actually, it's
so
the same
created
type sword.
So created by Darkseid somehow, the Absolute universe will be an alternate setting. Scott Snyder doesn't tell, and Joshua Williamson don't say more about how that happens. Apparently, it comes out of Absolute Power, because obviously, it's the Absolute universe coming out of Absolute Power.
Sure.
Let's see here.
Didn't DC
I'm
also
just looking for like what changes in their their origin, but we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, I don't know if it says, but didn't DC also said, just like Marvel said, it was like, nah, we're not going to do back-to-back events line wide. But again, I guess technically some of these weren't line wide. I know, but Absolute Power is a line wide event.
Yeah. So the Absolute Universe launches in October.
Right. This is another Flashpoint situation, I guess.
Yeah.
I've barely been keeping up with some of the stuff that's been going on right now, and that's changing. Anyway, there's only room for one X-Men member in the Avengers, according to Tom Brevoort. Go ahead and say the name. So yeah, this is from Brevoort's Substack. This Pop Wars article, mine's from there. It says that let's see. It said the logic was revealed when a fan asked about the possibility of Phoenix joining the Avengers, which we've already had one, or another non-X-Men team given her power, which we still don't know how the hell they Echo got rid of
Which I think it was. I think they saw it. I think we've read an issue with it.
I mean, I think it came out of that last big Jason Aaron thing. I get it, but I don't remember what happens. What I'm saying.
I don't remember either, but I think we read it.
Yeah. So anyway, the lack of a presence of the X-Men corner of the comics is in his response. Brevoort, who is also Marvel's executive editor, reveals his reasoning why. Quote, I think that could be interesting depending on the circumstances. Iron, I guess that's the person's name. But as we're doing that, he really did. Anyway, but as we're doing that already with Storm, I don't think it makes sense to double dip at this time, according to Brevoort on the Substack. Which, hey, if you hadn't checked out Brevoort's Substack, it's quite interesting sometime. So, and the article kind of goes on from there, but yeah. Next up.
All right, so this article is an interview with Carmen Carnero, and in this article, the artist talks about exceptional X-Men and certain soundtracks that the art to exceptional X-Men might be done to, might be produced to, and other things about the series.
Sure. If you want the video version, you can see some character sketches right there, and there's the cover, whatnot, and okay, sure, and yeah, it goes into Von Gloom says Bats is broke and doesn't have his family, and Soups is also without his family, according to an AITP article for the Absolute Universe stuff.
Oh, okay.
Next up, though, new Black Cat debuts as the original's daughter gets her own costume and code name, and this is quote unquote spoilers for Spider-Man Reign Reign 2 #1, which neither one of us was reading, so it doesn't really. So Kitty Cat is the daughter of Black Cat. It's written and drawn by Kari Andrews. The series is set 30 years in the future with heroes outlawed and Mary Jane reportedly dead. And Kitty Cat helps Peter escape a virtual reality prison, according to this article, revealing connections to Black Cat and Norman Osborn. Go. Next up.
All right, Marvel Comics is relaunching Iron Man on October 23rd, 2024. This article helps to provide an inside look with the new creative team and new suit designs. The new creative team is Spencer Ackerman as a writer, and art is being provided by Julius Ota. Okay.
Who?
Hey, you know what? That's okay.
Yes. But then again, I guess we said the same thing about Cantwell when he started. So,
all right.
Even though Cantwell was kind of a known issue in other places, but anyway. The new Ultimate Hawkeye, Ultimate Cyclops, Ultimate Sorcerer Supreme, and more revealed in Marvel's October 2024 Ultimate Universe solicitations. And this article goes through all of that, but we don't have the rest of the solicitations because I guess this is like a preview of the rest of the solicitations from Marvel and DC. But I'm just scrolling through these covers. The Hawkeye, Killmonger, Yep. Ultimate Spidey cover, Ultimate X-Men. Oh yeah, there we go. See, Ultimate X-Men. There's that. So yeah, there is that. If you want to read through that, you can check out the article for yourself. Von Gloom is on the fence about Home Depot Iron Man.
Oh no.
That Ironmonger thing also was like, okay, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, next up.
Iconic 80s toy franchise Sectaurs has been reinvented for comics as Game of Thrones with bugs instead of dragons. The comic is a part of the new Nacelverse. I thought we did an article on this, but I'm glad that there's more to it. So this is coming out from Oni Press. It's written by Dennis Culver and drawn by Ramon Box. And the new series takes readers to the world of Symbion, where a genetic experiment failed and evolution took a strange turn. On this planet, gigantic insects roam, and telepathic humanoid inhabitants who have developed aspects of insects themselves must unite with their insect companions in the ultimate fight for survival. I like Sectaurs, the comic, the Marvel comic under, I believe it was Star Comics.
That's probably the case, yeah.
I read like the first couple of issues. I enjoyed that, and I remember the cartoon. I was not able to get the toys though. I think that might have been a little later in my toy run.
Well, the fact that this thing said iconic, a little bit of a stretch personally, because I do remember seeing those toys out there, but I don't think they were that big. As granted, 80s there was a lot of stuff out there. So to what you asked, Agent 70, we did an article on the initial slate of everything, and I think including this as being announced, but I don't think we did anything like specific to this.
Got it.
Also, here's the if you're watching the video version, here's the Biker Mice from Mars cover, which is also Silver's Oni Press because they're doing that big push, that stuff.
Got it. Sectaurs #1 is published by Oni Press on October 23rd.
So I guess that's the next book that's coming out because I think Biker Mice from Mars might be a miniseries because I think it's like I know they're doing some like 3-issue miniseries stuff. And
I mean, that's another iconic toy here.
I mean, it had the show, and yeah, I guess this was more of a '90s thing because they did have the show, and they did, sure. I'll give that one.
I'm teasing. That was tongue firmly placed in cheek.
I mean, to some people though, that's probably still the case. I mean, that's actually the case. So
yeah.
Von Gloom says, "Our Mask and Centuria are far beyond." Well, I think both of those are Hasbro, if I'm not mistaken, and they've had their chance. And they could have put Mask in the Energon universe, but they have not done so yet. And they botched the last time they did that. So, I wouldn't mind seeing Visionaries, honestly. Oh wait, they did that too. I forgot that happened. Maybe Jason the Wheeled Warriors is next, or in Humanoids. In Humanoids is probably not in this case, but I suspect, given the amount of stuff coming out, like we got Space Ghost, Johnny Quest, and all that stuff, and these books, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those named come out at some point. Be surprised. I'm actually looking forward to that Johnny Quest book. Anyway, next up, Boom Studios announces Power Rangers Infinity #1 coming in August 2024. August 21st to be specific. Written by a name I hadn't heard in a while, even though I know he's still probably out there doing stuff. Sam Humphries, with art by Branton Stein, with colors by Triona Farrell, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. The story, according to this article, features an outrageous team. And it looks like there's a preview here. There's a Bear Power Ranger. Okay, yeah. And again, like I say, I have not been keeping up with that whole thing, but I want to. But there's a lot. Next up.
All right, so this is video game related. Legacy of Kain. Soul Reaver is getting a canonical prequel graphic novel starring, now this is some hyperbole, everyone's favorite jawless monologuing vampire. I mean, it's not mine, but it could be yours. So
I will safely say that there are a lot of fans for that series and that character. So yes, not me though. I don't think I've ever played any of them.
Right. So the book stars Raziel, the firstborn of Kain's lieutenants, and it's a canonical prequel story to the original Soul Reaver. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Buckingham says Sam Humphries, he up and vanished like Dennis Hopeless. Pretty much. Pretty much. Thanks to Agent 70, we got this next article, which is Jean Grey rises up in, and actually the next couple. Jean Grey rises up in new Marvel Legends Phoenix figure. So let's see, pre-order is on sale now as we record.
Yeah.
Yep. And see, the figure includes exchangeable hands and head, as well as Phoenix Force for a fully powered up look, according to this article. If you're watching the video version, you can see the trappings right there. So yeah, we got Jean, we got the Phoenix stuff, and we got a couple of poses with the stuff. So there you go, folks. If you want your a Jean Grey Phoenix, no, I don't think the price is up here, is it?
No, price point is $49.99. I just looked it up on Amazon.
Okay, thank you for that, because that would have been in my next thing. So, and I hope, folks, if you took advantage of Prime Day, hey, congratulations. Next up, though.
I may pre-order this Phoenix. I'm kind of on the fence. We'll see.
Yeah.
So Hasbro 2024 Summer Walmart CollectorCon Preview Marvel Legends Series X-Men Retro Shi'ar Armor Professor X figure. Now, I blew my top when I saw this article. I talked to Roddykat about it, and he hadn't seen it. This is the Professor X figure that I did not think they were going to make. This is the missing piece to the X-Men, to the Uncanny X-Men 275 cover that they have produced every character on in the blue and yellow X-Men X-Men uniform, except for the mystery character who turned out to be Professor X in this like warlord armor. And they're finally doing it. It's a Walmart exclusive. It'll go up for pre-order during the Walmart CollectorCon event that will be taking place on July 25th through 26th at 10 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, the armor looks goofy, but at the end of the day, this completes the set. And for the completists like myself, you're going to want to get this so that you too can create the diorama of that full cover.
We've made jokes about them doing figures for it, this character, that character, or some one-off thing that we've seen in the book. It feels more close to that being in actuality than not.
Yeah.
Next up, though, McFarlane Toys crowdfund site debuts with exclusive superpowers figures. So this looks like the old. Actually, I think they are the old superpowers collection. Let's see. They are aiming at 80s collectors on this one with exclusive new vehicles in the Superpowers collection. DC figure line has built on the 80s Kenner collection with figures and variants that the company never got around to. They may lack the quote power action feature, so they don't, whatever. But they scale correctly and build out the universe according to this article. So they're bringing it back, folks. Let's see. The project has 3 weeks left, according to this article, of its $600,000 goal, and it's 1% of the way there. If you want one, well, let's see where it's at now, shall we? Very quickly. So it's 18% done. It's $109,000, and it's got 20 days left to go. So it could very well make it, but it'll be close. It'll be close. Next
3
up,
weeks, you know.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah, it could definitely happen. Now I got to take a look at these crazy toys that they're trying. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the superpowers look, but people love that retro stuff. I never like I buy toys now because they're the toys that look more like what I always wanted. I don't necessarily want these, like the old school Mattel and Kenner style.
So with the exception of this one Batman figure, which looks like 89 Batman, the rest of them look like Super Friends versions. If you're not watching the video version of the show, it should sometimes. And so you got Manta's. So you had to be old to even know Super Friends in the first place, or maybe have caught it on Max at some point. So.
Right.
Anyway,
so
next up.
I mean, it's
up?
the vehicles. That's the thing. It's the vehicles that are the real source of the crowdfunding, the real reason for the crowdfunding. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to produce vehicles that don't sell. So they'd rather create these crowdfunded toy runs so that they sell exactly what they what's being funded. I'm circling back actually to an article. SH Figure Arts Spider-Man India from Across the Spider-Verse is scheduled for release in December of 2024, and pre-orders are opening as of today, the time of this actual recording, of July 19th. So SH Figure Arts is releasing Spider-Man India. He comes with his yo-yo and string that makes it look like a spider web, so you can recreate amazing action poses.
As I flip through the images we got here, it looks good.
All right, no price point, but you could check that out.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, Takara celebrates 40 years of Transformers with nostalgia, nostalgic Our Origin as anniversary release. So if you know, then you know that Tomy Takara. Well, actually, I don't even know if it's Tomy Takara anymore, but Takara is the parent company of Transformers. Because it was born from Japan, like most things are. Well, born, because there's a little swerve in there some way, so we won't get into all that. But there is an Our Origin video that briefly gives a look at some of the most legendary moments in Transformers history, according to this article, including the original Gen 1 series. Many of the characters seen are now received updated toys in the various lines, showcasing how far the legacy of the Transformers goes. It's true, because their lines, the Transformers lines are weird. Like I told Age of 78, I finally got a grasp on some of it, and it's still kind of weird. But oh man, Bob Newhart died.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I had not seen that. That sucks. But anyway, sorry. That just happens to be on the side of this article. But basically, it just goes into the fact that, hey, it has a history. Takara put out a video, and I don't see if it's linked here, which it is not, as I'm seeing so far. But I'm pretty sure it's probably out there on Takara's YouTube site or the Transformers site, because they do have a Transformers site where they're running Transformers 24/7. Actually, I think they might have a couple at this point. That would be Hasbro, actually. I think probably running those sites, now that I think about it. But actually, they are, now that I think, so let me shut up. Anyway, I'm rambling. And apparently there's a G1 Bumblebee diecast that's coming out. That doesn't transform, because they're still doing that stuff. And with that, folks, that ends the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
Our last ad read of the night is help keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. Helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, we're at the end of the show. Once again, I want to reiterate the fact that next week we will be on Movie Protocol for that Wolverine Deadpool movie. And also next week will be the start of San Diego Comic-Con.
Right.
So we should probably have some news coming out of that when we do actually record. So yeah, stay tuned to our social medias, which are as follows. I'm Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. And as somebody said, and I have always said a few different times, reason why I keep calling it Twitter, because I'm gonna call him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. Go. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. And if you want to catch us live at some point, we usually go live on Thursdays, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, on the channels of on the Kliq Nation's YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so that you know when we are on live and direct.
And yeah, there may be some, there will be some, I keep promising this, and it is going to be true. There is going to be some things, other things streamed on the Twitch account of a video game and comic book related source. I got stuff for days for that, for years. Well, for years. I got a lot of stuff that can be streamed. It's just a matter of just doing it. Actually, I kind of want to finish that Spider-Man game. That would probably be a good opportunity to do that, but we'll see. Look at that game. Anyway, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. 1.